I don't care. Hey, welcome everyone. This is Old School from WhatTheBuck.net. I'm joined, as I apparently will always be in perpetuity, by the one, the only, the ginger badass who looked like he got some sun today.
I don't know what perpetuity even means.
Forever and ever, amen. Like Randy
Why
Travis
don't we
used to
just
sing.
say, but see, you can't use big words like that and then bring up hillbilly Randy Travis. That doesn't make any sense.
That's
That's an oxymoron.
It's a super oxymoron, one
Right.
might say.
Speaking of morons.
I think that dichotomy is kind of fun. Anyway, welcome to day 2 of Buccaneers 2016 training camp. This live stream is really about telling you what we saw out there today. What I'll do is the same thing I've done in the past, and Mark, you guys are welcome to use this if you'd like to. We export it from Facebook and throw it up on YouTube as well. We have some people that absolutely detest Facebook, but a lot of people who love it. So that's why we're out here. So let's frame the discussion today. It felt cooler to begin with because we had the cloud cover, ran through some rain.
Oh, it was awesome. If they could do that every day, I would actually not complain about getting up and having to come here.
That's not true. We know that that's not true. He'd still complain. But the weather didn't make it any easier for the players on the field. I'll tell you that. There's a lot of busting backside out there today. Day one, there's obviously a high level of energy. I think we still saw the maintenance of that energy today, but there was a little bit more sloppy play.
Yeah. And I think the tempo was a little slower. I think they were doing a little bit more teaching today. I think Dirk kind of wanted to see, yesterday, tempo, what kind of tempo he could get from these guys, which really carried over from the off season because those were also high tempo. But today was more of a little bit slower tempo periods were a little bit different, but a little more teaching maybe going on today than yesterday. But they got in some good work. And again, I love the fact that Dirk is cutting these practices a little shorter. That means they may spend a little extra time in the meeting room, which is not wrong or bad, or reviewing film, but he's not killing these guys out there, and I think that's going to pay off down the road.
Well, and to your point, the teaching that's going on is important, and I've got a video I'll throw up on the website, just basic pass protection release into your route. They spent a nice segment on that, and that sounds like sort of a picky thing to focus on at the NFL level. But sometimes staffs will overlook things like basic blocking techniques and how to get off of a block and these sorts of things. Those level of fundamentals are actually fairly critical, and to get everyone on the same page so your position coaches understand this is how you're going to handle it when you face this on the field is really important to do. Now, we started out, I think I started out with skills, you too. I think you were over near where I was. What were your top 3 observations from today's practice?
Boy, top 3 observations. Mike Evans looked pretty good today. I thought he was good. I think he and Jameis are building a little bit of a chemistry with that slant. We saw that a little bit today, which is good. Look, I've always wondered because the Buccaneers got beat by the slant numerous times over the last couple of years, and I didn't think the Buccaneers really utilized that. When you've got 6'5" receivers on the outside that can essentially box out, right? Why are you not using that to your advantage? That's a pass that Jameis throws pretty good, but I think that both of them, I think both those receivers can excel in the short passing game too. We all think of those guys as, hey, let's throw it up, let them go get some jump balls, but they're pretty polished in other areas, and they have to be. Dirk is not just going to be a drop back, run 50 yards down the field, we're going to throw it up every kind of guy. They've got to be able to be variable and know all the receivers' positions because there's a lot of different route options and things that these guys have to know.
To set up those long shots, he's got to take the short ones. You've got to get to the point where those underneath routes are so reliable that the defense has to try and stop you. They know that's what's coming, and that's when you take your shot. And we took a shot today, right? Jameis took a shot down the field on the right-hand side. Russell Shepard once again, and underthrew it a little bit. And Coach Cutter in the post-practice interview said that may have been a bad decision, probably his first bad decision of camp thus far. Ended up getting that was when he got picked off, right, by Brent. He didn't drop that one.
Right.
But generally speaking, I mean, I think your point's a good one. Mike today, another funny quote from Coach Cutter was he thought that maybe Mike had watched all the press talk about how he dropped that first pass yesterday, right? So if you think that people aren't paying attention, players, coaches, they definitely are. Now, I agree. I think Mike had a good practice. What else did you see that looked interesting?
Watching the defensive line, actually I was trying to pay attention, and we'll have in our practice report breakdown of who's running first team on both sides. Now, nothing's set in stone. There's no official depth chart, and even by what we've watched out there doesn't mean anything. Right now, Jonathan Banks is the second cornerback, but at the same time, on the defensive line, all the defensive ends were getting their shot. George Johnson at one point was playing left and right. Same thing with Noah Spence, Robert Ayers. We saw Jacquez Smith. We saw Will Golston playing at the left defensive end. We saw him move inside some yesterday. So kind of what they're doing on the defensive line, giving these guys reps and looks at all of the different positions there. Keem Spence playing with the number 2s right now, and Clinton McDonald the starter there. But again, you can't say, well, one is a 1 and one is a 2 right now because somebody may come in with the next group of 1s, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there's a lot of platooning, and it could be from a conditioning perspective, or like we talked about in the stand. Sometimes coaching staffs, even when they've got a bunch of film on someone, they want to see how a player reacts left side versus right side, whether it's their get off, whether it's the way they engage blocks. Sometimes you're going to have a naturally dominant side. And maybe the team wants to take advantage of that, or maybe they want to try and bolster the weakness in the offseason so that they can platoon more aggressively.
And you can't predict where the injury is going to happen.
Right.
We know there's going to be an injury. Last year there was an injury with Jacque Smith. If you've got 4 guys that predominantly only practice and we're used to being in the scheme on the right-hand side, it's tough to send somebody over there to be effective on the left-hand side. So, I mean, again, this is speculation. We don't know exactly what they're doing by doing that.
No, not at all.
We can only speculate, but that makes sense to get guys reps on both sides.
So we did see Hargraves at the nickel today. Now you pay a lot of attention to where Vernon ends up. He's been playing with the 2s, right? And then Osama in the nickel.
And he's in the nickel with the 2s sometimes. Sometimes he's on the outside with the 2s. I'm telling you, this is a guy that is going to work his way into being on the field.
Absolutely.
I mean, he has to be. I mean, I still call him a 9th-round draft pick. That's who the Bucs would have taken. If they didn't move down with Chicago and go to 11. They were going to take Vernon anyway. So we're going to call him a 9th-round draft pick because it sounds better.
It does. It sounds very... That's what real journalists do. They make that sort of a volume story.
Now, his agent, when he negotiated the contract,
probably
said
tried to do the same thing.
And Jason said no. So he got paid like an 11th rounder. So we should probably call him the 11th. I mean, not 11th rounder, 11th overall pick. But what I'm saying is we saw him. You and I noticed a couple plays where he was able to. When he was in the slot on this particular play, when he identified a receiver, I think he was even coming out of the backfield.
It was a back out of the backfield on a wheel.
Like that.
That's exactly what it was.
And he was looking to the inside, saw the guy with his peripheral, and turned his body, not quite 360, but almost all the way around. And, boy, he has a nice burst when he makes that turn to get up the field. And, see, that's where a lot of guys in the cornerback position tend to get a little slow sometimes, is that redirect and that catch-up speed. And it looks like Vernon has some of that. He's also a physical guy. Again, I think we'll see it when the pads come on. He likes to tackle. He's not scared to tackle. And I think that makes him a guy that's going to be very popular. Again, right now, if the season started tomorrow, it's probably Alteron Werner and Brent Grimes.
And Alteron's not had a bad couple of days of practice. He's had a very good couple days of practice. It's not that, but Vernon does have a unique skill set. And when you have that kind of depth, which we have not had recently, the route you're talking about, like we discussed, it was a relatively sloppy wheel route. When we talk about running routes, that's one of the things you can see at training camp. These receivers have got to get their foot in the dirt, make the cuts, because that's where you get open. If you're not a 4.2 speed guy that's going to run past people like clearly Russell Shepard is, because he's behind everyone in training camp. And Adam Humphries today.
All of a sudden he got 4.3 speed. I don't know where it came from.
I have no idea. Like you jokingly said, it ended up getting broken up by Keith Tandy. Coach Cutter talked about it at practice. Keith showed his range getting over there. That's true. I think Mike was shocked that Humphries got open.
Yeah, exactly.
But regardless, you got to make those cuts. But great
let's
corners.
Take it back. Let's not knock Adam here. And I know you didn't mean to.
No, not at all.
I don't want people to imply that or think that we're implying that he can't get open. The guy actually is one of the better receivers at getting open. We were talking about 4 yards past the safety. That's
running by a corner on a 9-round is not what you see Adam Humphrey do. But regardless, what Hargraves showed there was that catch-up speed that you were talking about. And I'm not comparing him to Darrelle Revis. No, I'm not doing that. But guys like that have that ability. When the route develops, they don't have to know exactly what happened. They see it, and then they can react so quickly that they're not already beaten.
Right.
Callum Shaw asked us about Kenny Bell. He had a drop today, so should we cut him now? No, I thought he had another good practice. I thought a lot of energy out of there from a high point.
Cut him.
You're ready to cut him already? Yeah. Okay. Nice.
Kenny's great. I talked to Kenny a little bit. We talked about it on the show last night about his buddy that passed away from Nebraska, and we talked a little bit about that after practice. And he says, I want to apologize to you guys yesterday. He said, I just didn't want to be over here boo-hooing and crying in front of you guys. And I was like, no shame, man. I mean, it's life. And as you mentioned yesterday with Frank, the older we get, the more of these things we're going to go through. And Kenny's a young guy, and this is probably one of his first tastes of losing a close friend. And
absolutely.
Unfortunately, like my 8th grade agriculture teacher at Turkey Creek Junior High once said, Mr. St. Martin, who would read the obituaries every morning when we got into class, the older you get, the more names you recognize.
Yeah.
And, sad but true fact.
True story.
But Kenny's a good guy. Having a great camp. Excited about him and what he can do. And we mentioned it last night on the show. Just brings a different skill set and unique ability that is different than. I mean, again, he's not a guy that's going to go up and get a ball like Vince and Mike. But they're also not the guy that's going to catch it and have that just immediately, 0 to 60 when they get the ball and turn it up.
Yeah, if he catches the ball over the middle, he's coming across. He's going to separate once he makes that catch. He's got that burst.
But this is what we got. Got to see Jamison. We saw him today be a little bit behind on some of his
Absolutely.
passes. Jamison's got to hit these. I mean, you can't underutilize a guy like Kenny. If you don't throw the ball out in front where he can just keep running full speed, then what you've done is you've essentially made him a Mike Evans or Vincent
You
Jackson
negated the very thing that makes him special. Right. No, that's a great point. And, I thought Jameis had a decent practice, but I think that the chance of saying that Jameis has a great practice is almost null because he's going to go out there and try new things. I thought Mike had another good practice, not as sparkly as he was yesterday, but that's fine. I did watch Mr. Vitale today. Vitale. Sorry, I'm going to mispronounce his name for the entire season.
Well, let me just remind you, this is how you always remember it. There's an E on the end of it. So always think when I say it, Vitale, E.
Yeah. Or I can just think about the movie about Vince Papale. I can just think about it that way. But that's an Eagle.
Papale and Vitale.
It's almost the same thing, right?
Not really.
Anyway, I thought he looked very good. You made me pay more attention to him today, right? So I went out there, I was watching him. I went over the tight end drills. The guy is very fluid. He's very athletic, and
I believe he was a 4.5 or 4.6 guy at the combine.
The guy is absolutely smooth, and you guys know. And I threw a tweet out there today. I love tight ends, and I do. So I pay a lot of attention to him.
I heard you do.
We have got a pretty doggone good stack of tight ends who are catching the ball beautifully. I haven't seen them block yet effectively, right? They're going to work on that. And then we got a project in Mr. Westbrook who physically looks like he could be pretty special, but they're really just coaching him up, like you said. So I know you got real work to do. Let's get you back to your real job. I want to thank the guys who tuned in this little video live stream. Takeaway from today, and what are you looking forward to tomorrow?
Well, we've already given all the takeaways I can think of right now.
That's
tomorrow,
fine.
Looking forward to Saturday practice. Looking forward to a big crowd out here. I expect there's going to be a big crowd. First day open to the public.
Absolutely.
I would say if you're planning on coming, get here early.
Oh, absolutely.
And Old School will have donuts for everyone who attends.
Look at that. I love the misinformation from pewterreport.com.
Is that wrong?
It is totally wrong. It's totally wrong.
I'm actually Mark Hood from the Tampa Tribune. We can talk about them since they're not.
Well done. No, we'll see you guys out here this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. Good hearing from you, Callum.
Callum, by the way, thanks a lot for calling me an orangutan on Twitter the other day.
Is it not obvious? Anyway, we'll see you guys.
Want the shirt to come off? You want it?
This is the hard-hitting journalism you get at whatthebuck.net. We'll see you guys on our next live stream and on Twitter. And look at the hearts that the chest got.
Oh yeah,
Mark, your chest is
might
popular.
Even flash my bad '90s tattoo.
Oh
next
Lord,
episode.
just don't show the tramp stamp. All right, guys, thanks a lot.